Hello, everyone. Hello, creatives. Hello, world. Welcome to Inside Nollywood Conversation with me, Musa Sunusi Ahmad. The world of filmmaking is becoming so complicated and so interesting. From making films for propaganda to making films for impact and to making films for awareness. I mean, to create awareness and add value to lots more of industries and making films for industrial, corporate, and lots more of things. And today we are here to discuss with one of the pioneers of a different ideology. I mean, making films for impact. And this person has been making a lot more of stops in Nigeria for the last 2 decades or and beyond. And likewise, he have pioneered lots more of media corporations, foundations, and lots more of festivals, just to fine tune what he believed is the best thing that we should do to use this tool of filmmaking to add value. And to do justice to all those things, we bring in one of the one of the persons that has been working for a very long time to make sure that he have put in legacy in making films for impact. And we bring him in to discuss his new movie in making, Chance, and also discuss how we should be using the filmmaking tools to make impact. And to do that, uh, Bright Wonder, welcome to Inside Nollywood Conversation.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure being here. Thank you.
Uh, you're welcome. Bright, before we go further in discussing the world stuff that bring us here, lots more people, though you are not new to media, would like to know who is Bright Wonder and what is the humble beginning and story of Bright Wonder. Tell us about your journey, life, and how you get into films.
Okay, Bright Wonder. It's a writer, producer, director, and an acting coach. I'm very passionate, not just about making film, like you mentioned earlier. I'm more passionate about using film to drive transformation. That's where my passion lies. I'm also not one of those people who would say from childhood I had this film thing in me. I don't think I can't recall myself doing more film when I was a child. At least I can date my memory back to even when I was 5 years. 4 to 5 years. I can still date my memory back to that very well. And I know that what I loved playing then was football. So it was more football for me. And I did other things, but not film. So I grew up in a very devout Christian family, which I owe so much to my parents for helping me find God earlier. Because I mean, it's built a lot of who I am today. So raised in that Christian home, I grew up into um, sometime after secondary school, while I was wrapping up my secondary school, that was where my first trial in making a film. I remember the very first, not even making a film, writing one. The very first short film I wrote, Crucial 5 Minutes, and my theater director then in church said, "This is beautiful. In fact, it can be edited." I think that's one of the things that motivated me to say, "Oh, wow, I think I have this skill." And I was just about 16, 17 then, about 17, 16, 17 years old then so but by the time I got into school, I studied the Federal University of Technology, Owerri Futo. That was where the whole film thing really began, because it was in school I honed the craft. I wrote my first feature film. I wrote my first major stage production, which I did in 2003. Exactly, by October that will be 20 years exactly. I did it then in Futo, and that moment actually fired up my career as a filmmaker. I would say that's exactly where it started. So from school, by the time I was done with school, came into the city of Abuja. I decided to pursue film, even though I studied chemical engineering. But I realized I don't want to be, or I wasn't passionate about being a chemical engineer. Don't ask me why I studied it. You know how it is. There are these courses, it makes you an engineer, it makes you this. I mean, those things made us study those courses. But in school, I realized that's not who I am. I'm a filmmaker, and the principle of comparative advantage worked for me because in school I realized that that principle state that everybody come to table with what you have great strengths. In I played football then while I was in school. I did music, but of all things I did, my greatest strength lay or lies in my pen. When I pick my pen to write stories, when I set out to make a film, I seem to exude so much more strength and power. So I decided to give film. That place, every other thing followed film. So from there, it brought me to starting out a film academy because from then I was very passionate. It was 20 years back. As I started training people from 20 years back, if not earlier. I decided to start out an academy where I train people. That's the High Definition Film Academy, and that has been since 2011. The academy is 12 years old currently, and we've been waxing strong. And then, of course, making my films. Also started out Film for Impact Foundation. Reason being the fact that I'm more passionate about using film to drive transformation than just making film. So I believe film has entertainment. Film is entertainment itself, but yeah, but film is art. I believe in the art of film. I believe in the business of film. But very importantly, too, I believe in the power of film to create transformation, and I focus a lot of energy in that. So this is Bright Wonder in short. Bright Wonder is married with one wife, three children. That's it.
Oh, lovely, lovely. That was amazing and so interesting. And from your story, what I appreciate is like you like creating things
Sure, I
your own way.
am. That's my
What is the story behind that?
to be honest, I can't say my dad did more of secretarial work. My mom did more of business. So I can't trace that to gene. I can't trace that to gene, but I like creating things. I like creating things. I like empowering people. And these are things I got to discover that I am. So I can't really say this is where it came from, but it's just who I am. You come to a point where you don't just keep doing things. You want to identify who am I. I can say clearly that I realized early in my career that I'm not the king. When I say I'm not the king, I'm a kingmaker. That's more of who I am. So a kingmaker learns to power people up to take places. You mustn't be in those places, but then being in those places means you're in that place. So if you understand that, it means when I make great films, I can act very well, but I'm most times not in front of the screen because I really don't need to be in front of the screen, to pass out my message. But I can empower a lot of actors whose passion is to be actors. I can empower filmmakers who's passionate to be filmmakers. So some of those people can take those front line, but it's you. So I see myself more as that, and that's what I throw my energy into. So a lot of this creativity are things I got to discover in it, and I am fanning them. Yeah,
Exactly, because most of genius, they are like this. When they see things don't work their own way, they just create their own. And
yeah,
imagine 20 years ago, you have the idea of creating your own
sure,
company, production output, and trying to do your things your own way. Even though you are young,
sure,
you are just navigating life.
yeah,
And see, you started a foundation, you do, and I see that you are doing festival too,
yes,
cinema
I do.
script, and likewise from maybe you tapping into your Christian background,
Yes,
gospel cinema international. I
yes,
realize you create so much in your life, like
yeah.
crazy.
It's just like what you said. You said I seem to create a lot. So the thing is, once I find out there is a vacuum and it's a vacuum I can feel in, I pour out myself into it because the very organizations you mentioned, they are product of the fact that I just found a vacancy. I found a need. Talking about Film for Impact Foundation, I realized that Nollywood is ranked second largest producers of movie in the world, and that's too big. Nollywood is the king of Africa when it comes to film. I've gone to a lot of festivals, and I see that all African countries seem to look towards Nollywood as the big brother to learn, and how did you make it happen. So we are not just the second largest producers of film. We have some of the brightest filmmakers in Nollywood. Forget what you're saying. The kind of resources our filmmakers work with, if those people abroad work with it, they can't make the film they make. They can't even make one third, one tenth the film they make. So Nollywood filmmakers are too brilliant. But finding ourselves in this place, and I realized that a lot of these films are entertainment driven, and of course, we have few of them that are also, they pay so much attention to the art of film, but a lot of them are for the entertainment and commercial purpose of film. So that field isn't oversaturated yet, but at least there's a lot going into it. But how many persons are intentionally designing films to cause transformation? And this is one thing we know, it's an innate capacity, potency of film. It has that power to create change. So when I realized that space, that need was there, and I knew I have the power of storytelling, I can also train and empower people. And I have a heart that wants to empower people. I decided to start out Film for Impact Foundation, to power that. And it's through Film for Impact Foundation we started out the Africa Film for Impact Festival. The reason is because also we realized that a lot of the festivals here, some of them, pay attention to, there will be a category of award for social films. But I realized that there are a lot of NGOs that work across, doing brilliant jobs across the country. There are a lot of people who do a lot of things for impact. So, and there are filmmakers who are very passionate about making these kind of films too. And but they're asking themselves, entering, how do I do this? How so wanted to also create that festival that will, be focused on people who make film for social impact. That's how, Africa Film for Impact Festival came about. And also, like you said, tapping into my faith, I'm somebody who strongly believe in religious tolerance across the world. I mean, I strongly believe it. But I'm a devout Christian. I know what I believe. I stand firm or shake, unmoved with my faith, what I believe in. And also tapping into my potency, knowing is a gift, from God. I want to also tap into that to tell stories that will bring about transformation, stories that will put Christ on the map, that will attract people, to Him. So, yes, the moment I find a need, I send my creativity to work so we can tell those stories that will bring transformation.
Oh, wow. You're talking of storytelling. Right. What are these stories? What type of stories Nollywood need to start telling that will add value and bring impact?
Okay, first of all, I think the stories Nollywood as an industry need to tell more, because I know they've started. As in Nollywood is really doing good, I must say. Sometimes it's easy to see the weaknesses, to see, yeah, but Nollywood is really, really doing good. So in terms of the kind of story I think we should be telling, I think Nollywood has started telling those story, and that we're talking about authentic African stories. We don't have it all there yet, but we're beginning to tell our stories, not waiting for people to come tell our story. So, if there's any story I think Nollywood should be telling, is authentic African stories, stories that are about Africa, about Nigeria, our origin, who we are. We're brilliant people, and in telling authentic Nigerian story, there's an aspect, there's an angle I think we really need to start paying so much attention to. And that's the fact that Nigeria is too great a country. Where are the stories that tell about the Aba people and what they do? The factory they built, where they the shoe factory, the clothing factory they built. Where are the films that tell about the Northern Empire? The pyramid you find in the north. All of these great things about the north, south, east, west. It's high time we start telling those stories, because most of the things we believe about America is a product of what we see in their film. So you see somebody who's not gone across the shores of Nigeria, but can tell you how powerful the American Air Force is, and how their their doctors are, how powerful their soldiers are, and all of that. When did they see that? They saw it in the film. So if there's any story, any kind of story Nollywood needs to start telling, is the story of a great people. One of the most, I don't want to use the word the most, so I don't, someone would say, where's your data? But one of the most resilient people in the world on the surface of the earth. A lot of countries in Europe, if they go through one quarter of what Nigerians have been through, they will commit suicide. But Nigerians are so resilient, they will fight. That's why they go abroad and you see them excelling. They are topping the chart in academics, in manufacturing, wherever you find them. Why? Because they have so much brain power. They have so much creativity. So you don't want to talk about our music. So these are stories we need to start telling. Don't tell the story. It's not about just about telling the story of the ghetto. People want to see the ghetto, the slum, and all of that. Yeah, you want it gritty and fine. But let's start telling the story of who we really are, because we're great people. We're not people that it's all about Yahoo, because it's easy to put that, and people will consume that from the abroad and say this is what no, that's not what Nigerians are. That's not who Nigerians are. We're not that. We have a lot of people who society and the way things are has pushed them to the extreme, but that is yes, those are the exceptions. Great things are happening in Nigeria. Great manufacturing, great creativity, great things are being done by Nigerians. Those are the stories we need to start telling. So the global community will see us for who we really are. Tell the story of the resilience of Nigerians. Tell the story of the creativity of Nigerians. Tell the story of the love, compassion. Coming into Nigeria, Nigerians are loving people, very compassionate people. Forget what we go through. If people around the world go through a quarter of what we go through, they won't, if their country won't stand. But Nigeria is still standing because Nigerians are very tolerant people. Nigerians are very loving people. Nigerians are very hardworking people. They believe they can. Those are the stories I think. Why I say tell our authentic African story is not just about the epic stories or stories about our culture. No, about the people. This is who Nigerians are. These are the kind of stories we need to start telling.
Yeah, yeah. As sometime people will say, yes, we have to tell authentic stories,
Yeah.
original stories, the way we do life. I mean, our way of life, our culture. But who are to pay for this? Who are the paymasters for this? Like, for example, you yourself, we for years we have been waiting for seeing the likes of Netflix, Prime Time. I mean, people like this coming and putting their money in you and investing in what you do in producing movie for impact. And to be frank, we are not saying that, but maybe things are on the pipeline, and you may tell us about that too. Then, if you were to tell original stories, who are to pay for this?
Okay, so there's something I believe. Okay, as a person, I don't believe that anybody owes me anything. So I believe in working things out. So I'm saying to every filmmaker out there who really want to make great works, trust me, those works will find their way. All you need to do is commit yourself to making a great work. Talking about Netflix, talking about Amazon Prime, and I mean Paramount Pictures is currently also in Nigeria. Hopefully they'll be launching soon, and other people are coming. Some years back, maybe 6, 7 years back, we never had any of these people um, um, domiciled in Nigeria. But now they are here. More are going to come. So more opportunities will open up. But when the opportunities open up, are you prepared? I say sometimes, sometimes I speak to friends and I tell them it's not all contents you send to these people. If you're going to be making a film for Netflix, for Amazon, for any of these platforms, okay, you've got to be prepared. You've got to be very intentional. And somebody will say, I've seen some kind of film there. Yeah, but don't use that as your measuring unit or your reference. Don't use it as your reference. Use excellence as your reference. If you've not done a job you know is intentionally designed for this platform, then prepare for one. Prepare for greatness. The opportunities will always come. So when we're telling authentic African story, the truth is this: I quote this, and anybody who finds it not true, please feel free to correct. I'm ready to learn. Show me one great authentic work you did, one authentic African story you've made, excellently done, and Netflix or Amazon or any of the big platform refuse to take it. Show me that work. I don't believe you can make an authentic African story that is great, that is amazing, and they will refuse to take it. Why? Because these people need you. So sometimes it looks like Netflix and Amazon and the rest of this, they are one God. Even God need, God opens doors for us to come to Him. But it looks like we make it look like they're unapproachable. There's a cabal, they pick these people and give to these people. See, all of that, I'm not ready to make argument on any of that. Do such things exist? Maybe they do. But I'm saying that this distribution platform, they don't ride on water. They don't ride on physics. They ride on content. They need your content. They need your breathtaking content. So don't sit saying they won't pick or they pick. So no, where is that great content you have? If you don't, if an amazing content, I mean, I'll be free, open to say if I see such a content, the persons I know, who work within that space can ship it to them. And I'm very sure that if you ship a content to those people that is good, they can't say no to it. So in terms of funding this project, sometimes, I mean, if it's not an original commission by Netflix or Amazon or any of this platform, sometimes you may need to seek for funders. And whoever you want to get as a funder, truth is that that person will be looking for, asking for proof of concept. They want to see what you've done. They want to see, what you've built, how much you know about what you're doing. They want to see, they want to see figures. They want to see things, not just an idea. And if you don't have something solid to show, maybe it may not be time to be asking for some kind of big money. Maybe time to do something small as a proof of concept to show. And when you're able to do that, even if you want to do it, like you want to do a series for Netflix, for instance, and it's going to be a long one, or you want to do for Showcase, or you want to do for any of this platform, you may not have the money to do all of that, but do you have something, or can you raise something to do a pilot? Just a proof of concept. It might be just 10, 15 minutes to show them the quality of story you want to tell and the quality of production value you're giving to it. Trust me, they are looking for story. They are looking for great story. They are looking for great project to put their money on. So don't tell yourself these opportunities are not there. They are there. Just prepare for them, and you have to be intentional. You need to know how to knock on those doors. Those doors are not shut the way a lot of people see it, and you can't see that from afar. You're not close. These guys are looking for you. I can assure you that. Yes, they are looking for that great content. So if you have it, the money will come, the funding will come.
And that brings me to your background in training industry stakeholders. As
Yeah.
stakeholders and professionals in the industry, I mean, skills wise, prepared to face these guys. Talking by lots more of production houses in Nigeria are just like boutique. You cannot just see professionals like accountants, lawyers, project managers who are in-house. Most of the time they work on, project basis, unlike other international production houses. Are they preferred? I mean, is the industry prepared, skills and professional wise, to face and deal with these guys?
Okay, so I can't say the industry is there yet, but I can assure you, that the industry is at it. The industry is working at it seriously. Because I know a few persons who they didn't just strike deals with these organizations, the Netflix and the Amazons and all of that. Yeah, like you said, some work on contract basis. Yeah, and to a large extent, one thing we should understand is that Nollywood is not yet structured like what you'll find in the US, in the UK, and other places where you have guilds, where you have a more structured industry. So, because the industry is not yet that structured, a couple of things cannot be as they are supposed to be. So, we are gradually getting there. It might seem slow. Yeah, I mean, in some of these countries you're talking about, there are a lot of government funding to help these things. But here we don't have that funding. And Most of what we've done in Nollywood is independent producers, you know, scratching their money from everywhere. Some of them going into even as far as loans, facilities, and all of that to make a film. Sometimes they don't get back their money. The reason also being the fact that a film is released in 1,200 cinema, 2,000 cinemas, 6,000 cinemas in the US, in the UK. But here, how many cinemas do we have? Maybe we'll be talking about 50 to 70 screens. How many of such? How much really can you make from that? But still look at the figures Nigerian films are pulling. So until we're able to get that level of support that can really structure the industry, certain of these things may not be able to fly, very well, because how many filmmakers are able to keep a lawyer on a retainer? An entertainment lawyer on a retainer. How many of them are able to, bring in professional project managers, keep them, not contract wide. So these things require funds. If you keep these people, I mean, you make one film in a year or one even in 2 years, and you have to pay these people. You have them on retainer. That's so much money. And there's also a limit to how much you can make in cinema for now, because like I said, we still have limited cinema. We still have porous areas where where you would have made income from. You can't, because systems are not there, structures are not there to help the producer really earn the way he should earn. So because these things are not in place, it becomes also challenging for the producer to be able to get all of these persons you mentioned that will ensure a better system. So as we get more government support, more not just government, more funding pumped into the industry, and then it will enhance the establishment of proper structure, and that will help us. The entire system will now benefit from it.
Yeah. But Bright, you have trained hundred, if not thousands, of uh, outcomes and even professional filmmakers. How are you seeing
Yeah.
the impact of your trainings? What are the success stories of such trainings?
Truth is, a lot of them, a lot of them. Yeah, from the academy, we've trained over 1,000 people. I don't have the exact figure, but I know it's over 1,000 we've trained. Now, a lot of these people train for different reasons. Some of them, they just want to have that training, that media and film training background. Some use it for their personal works, for their personal podcasts, for their personal videos, and all of that. Some are trained, they go into churches and they have become media gurus in their church because that is what they got the training for. But industry wise, we have a lot of alumni, alumni of the academy who currently are running shows, who are currently making films for some of the mainstream cable channels in the country. By the time they were done with their training, they still did, more, more work on themselves. And at this point, you find a couple of them producing for some of these stations. They are producing, some of them are directing for some of these stations. Some have started their own studio. They own their own studio. Some are currently running their own independent production that have made films that have gone to cinema, made films that are, going to Netflix. These are students who are trained from the academy, or trained in the academy. And some of the actors, are some have transformed into producers, some have grown into directors. And we also have, some of the actors that have stayed with acting, but they are beginning to find themselves in the mainstream, of filmmaking in the country, having to find themselves in, classic shows in the country and classic movie projects. So yes, it's been very, very impactful. I mean, these people, we know, we've seen, and we still see their works on. Every time you open the TV, you still see their works there. They are testimonials to the fact that the work we do training people has been very, very effective and very successful.
Uh, Maybe from your perspective, having trained so many people and researched the industry and understanding the pain point and the skill gaps in the industry, what do you think are the major areas that we need to do better when it comes to training and upskilling the professionals in the industry, be it actors, be it script writers? be it directors, producers, editors. I mean, people even entirely from pre-production, production, and post-production. What are the pain points and the skill gaps that we need to make sure we work hard in preparing the next army of industry guys that will maintain the position of Nollywood globally and at large even superseding to take the first position?
Okay, I will start from saying that a lot of this thing also has to do with funding. I know about two institutes in Lagos that have government funding, and that's how people are able to go train. I also know some independent ones in Lagos and some other places, like ours is an independent institute who are training people but don't have that kind of funding. Now, a lot of the people who are very passionate and skilled, they have the talent. They need to be skilled and upskilled. They don't have the finance to attend the academy. They don't have the finance to attend the training. So that's a challenge in its own. And also, if we talk about government training people, is it going to be is it something that will be sustained across years? Because even in established institutes or countries like the US, UK, Canada, and the rest of them, while you still have government kind of support to stuff like this, you still have institutes that are paid for. People attend those institutes. Even from Nigeria here, we go over to attend those institutes. So capacity to attend or pay for trainings like this is something a lot of people don't have. Of course, a lot of this has to do with the economic situation of the country. But government support could help cushion a lot of these things. And then when you now start talking of the gap, trust me, the gap cuts across almost every aspect of it. It's not even just, it doesn't start with pre production, it actually starts with development. How many researchers exist? There are researchers, yes, but how many films can actually boast of having good financing to fund research, proper research for film, which is very, very important, especially when you're doing certain kind of stories that require that deep research. How many film projects can boast of having that kind of funding? Because research is not cheap. Proper research is not cheap. There are times you need to get real data. How many productions have the capacity, the financial capacity to fund research before we, go through that entire development process? How many production has up to 20 million put in for script development? How many productions? Maybe 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. And you get a team of 8 writers in the room, and the budget for screenplay is 5 million or even 3 million to be shared among how many writers that will stay on that production, for every writer, most likely sometimes writers will want to write and, go so that they can get another job because what you're paying them can carry so much. So you realize that funding is a major issue here. Because while we're trying to upskill, I can tell you of a truth. There are still a lot of skilled people in Nigeria, even writers who say our stories are as those stories you pay 500K to get a series. Really, you want the writer to spend 3 months on 500K. And maybe there are two, three writers. It's not going to work. Some of them are that skilled. They have the skill already. Some, if they need to upskill, trust me, a lot of materials avails online currently that can actually train you so well. They can upskill. Then when it comes to institutes like what we run, training these people, yes, there's still need for that funding to upskill. So the upskilling or upskilling we need is not even just in one aspect. We can go into sound design and music scoring to say we don't have much people there. True. We have a few, we don't have much. We need to still do more to train a lot of people in sound design, music scoring. But there are even some areas where a lot of people don't even know that there's even so much money in it. Things like focus, the first AC. A lot of people want to be director, producer, the big name. But focus puller is so important right now. I mean, it's one angle also a lot of training need to go into. Screenplay, we know of a truth. We need to learn a lot about telling stories. We need to learn a lot. But sometimes, after you're done training people, they become solid. They learn a lot. When they come in, how much do you want to pay them? Because they know what their counterparts in Hollywood, in Bollywood, in other woods, they know what their counterparts earn. So by the time somebody spends maybe 2 years going through that upskilling, and they are done, they are good, they with so much energy and they want to make their industry better, they jump in and you offer them 300,000. And not because leave the people who want to manipulate you or who want to use you. Leave that. I'm talking of honest. Sometimes producers can be honest with their budget. They don't have funding enough funding to do stuff. So they don't have enough budget to be able to fund that proper stuff. A producer has 20 million right now to make a film, and in that 20 million, he has promotion. How is that going to work? So a lot of these is a product of the fact that the system is not yet there where somebody can easily get, say, 500 million to make a film, and you're sure that you're going to be giving back your investors' money. Because a film a producer makes with 500 million, you will need to make a minimum of 1.5 billion in cinema to recoup the investment of your investor, the capital of your investor, because a producer earns roughly just about one third of that from cinema. How many films in Nigeria have hit the 1 billion mark, not to talk of 1.5 billion? So when these things are not in place, the truth is that the producer also checks his risk level to determine how far can I push financially. And when he's not able to push so far, he's not able to pay so far. Not because he doesn't want to push, but if I push to this point, where's the guarantee? Because you don't want to finish making a film and you're running helter skelter, running from police, running from EFCC they brought to pick you. So if you are serious of being about being a producer, you check your in fact you start profiting from a film by how much you spend in making the film. If you spend so much, example, you make a film and that film is going to be going to for TV film, and you spend 15 million making it for TV film, you're already in trouble. It's a for TV film, is made for TV stations. Who offers you 15 million? Who offers you 10 million? So that's already a problem. So a producer thinks that way, and it determines how much he can spend in a film. So, bottom line, when people upskill, or upskill and come in, truth is that if these things are still not yet in place, it doesn't encourage the process or encourage, the industry. So, but if you talk about where do we need to upskill, trust me, we need upskilling all through from the development down to distribution. Because even the distribution aspect, we fail a lot, or we've not gotten it right. I won't say we fail. We've not gotten it right. So we need upskilling all through, the chain, the film chain. There are some places that need more of it, yes, but we need it also.
Ah, of course. Distribution is another thing because a lot of outcomes and even people who found their feet in the industry, I find it very difficult to identify with the right distributor. And maybe that is why you have the Film for Impact Festival.
Yeah, sure,
And
yes.
so how have been the festival have been impactful in making sure it provide the rightful avenue for all these people you train to go and start creating movies and films
Okay.
that will be impactful.
Truth be told, Africa Film for Impact Festival, truth is that Africa Film for Impact Festival is still in its infant stage. It's still growing. This edition will be the second edition. So it's still growing. And Africa Film for Impact Festival is focused more on impact films. not really commercial films. But it doesn't mean an impact film cannot be commercial. No, yeah, of course, there's a line you can meet. An impact film can be commercial, but the festival is for impact film. But generally, I would say that there are a lot of opportunities that avails for filmmakers to find distribution for their film. Right now, I always tell any filmmaker the way to find distribution for your film is to make a good film. If you make a good film, I can assure you there's distribution. There's distribution for your film. There are a lot of distributors in Nigeria who are waiting to take your film to cinema. They are not monsters. Those people need you. But you should also understand that it's so much work they are doing and it's so much money they are putting also into it, so much energy, effort they are putting. So they don't just want anything that will flop. But if you give them a good film, they are so these people are so knowledgeable that they know the power of the film. When they see a good film, they'll take it to cinema. And these people, they are approachable. They are people you can approach with your film. Beyond going to festivals, these people have address. They have contact. Right now, via online, you can even send them, trailers, teasers and rough cuts or first cut of your film or the final cut. You can send it to these people. They are not unapproachable, they are very approachable. And then, but coming to festival is an opportunity for a level playing field or a meeting ground where you get to meet these people. Like I said, our festival is emerging, but I mean, there are still big festivals, in Nigeria. A festival like Africa International Film Festival, is a very good one. I will encourage anybody to be a part of. Any filmmaker, because you get to meet a lot of people in the industry, the rank and file of the industry, and internationally, it hosts a lot of these people. Why festival like ours are still emerging and learning and growing? These ones have been there for over 10 years, so they have they have a lot we all can learn from. You meet producers there like you hear from their stories, how they made it, how they got the business deals, how they got the funding, how they got the endorsements. You hear from them how they got distribution. Then you also hear from distributors what you need to do. You hear from other stakeholders. So festivals are a very good opportunity, for people to producers to get their film noticed and then distribution for their film. And one, like I said, I will encourage you this year, by November this year, Afrique will be coming again. I will encourage you to be there. I mean, our own festival, which is Africa Film for Impact Festival, will be happening, 1st to 3rd of November too. I mean, everyone who is has made an impact film, I will encourage you, because the people we're bringing on board the festival too are, not just film lovers and people who watch films, or also, having donors, be a part of it, so that when they find films, or people, producers who are making films in line with their thematic areas, they can also support or fund or provide grants, for those. So while I encourage you who are passionate or who have made a film for impact to do this, I will also tell you of great opportunities that avails, like, festivals like Afraid. It will really help your career.
Uh, of course, festival is one of the best thing that will happen to a filmmaker. Attending the most of this festival will give you leverage to network with people that
A
you
lot
you
of
will
them.
never have access in a normal scene, and likewise you will be part of the conversations and be able
Exactly.
to sell your movie, pitch your ideas, and lots more. But one thing,
Exactly.
most of the time, we here in Nigeria or African cinema at large, we don't know about festival. All we don't do is using festival cycle to create agendas and conversations that matter to the industry. Why Africans and Nigeria, to be specifically, are not using festival cycles to create agendas and maintain conversations about things that matters to them.
Okay, so I think that to a large extent, every organization or institution's vision is what drives um, their activities and drive what they do. So I have I've been to a few festivals and I hear conversations that are held, maybe panel sections that are held in the festival. So I can't say that they don't have conversations that um, drive things that matter to them, right? Um, they may have a lot of them. They may have discussions that matter to the industry they are in, not necessarily the country. Example, these festivals may not want to talk about like the politics in the country, or screen a film and then use it to have that conversation on the because that is not that's not the mission of that festival. If I would put it that way, that may not be the mission. Now, for some of them, they may have a segment, they may have a particular day or a particular section dedicated to something like that. They may have a section dedicated to gender equality or any particular thing, depending if they have a partner on the festival that wants that. They may have a day dedicated to it. So, but the vision of most of this festival is to drive filmmaking across the country and across the continent. So they may just focus on that, which is the business. They focus on the business of filmmaking, not the impact of filmmaking. Again, this is why I said to you that I saw a gap. That was what initiated the Africa Film for Impact Festival. Because I had to tell myself, I know a couple of people who told me, Brian, you must start a festival. I mean, there are other festivals. Why not just link up with them, share with them, share ideas with them, and all that. If you ask me, I don't really want to run a festival. I don't. Festival is so much work. There's too much in festival, too much, too challenging to run a festival. So it's not one thing I desire to be the festival director of Africa Film. No, it's not one accolade I'm really looking for. That's not it. The only reason I'm running the festival is because there's a gap. I see people who make impact films, and I also train people who make impact films. And I know I get a lot of people reach me from across the world who made impact films or who are passionate about that, about what you just mentioned, using film to drive societal transformation and all of that, addressing. So not if it's not in the vision of an organization or an institution, they may not drive it. It now behooves on us who have that passion, who have that like-mindedness to create something that can address or create a platform for such to happen. And that's why Africa Film for Impact Festival, is there. And I mean, any other human rights driven festival.
Because as you are talking, I have this in mind. Oh, remember the conversation. Like people are asking, we talk about entrepreneurship, business. We talk about so much about learning, school, and other stuff. But in the last 2 decades, you cannot just become so openly and said there is any movie that is purposely made to promote entrepreneurial spirits or adaptation of movies that adaptation of the life of maybe Dangote, Odetola, and lots more of business moguls in Nigeria or IT moguls in Nigeria who have done so well, oil and gas, and lots more of industry, be it in the development of all that, adapt their life so as to make a movie or, I mean, do a movie about that, or about national security. To an extent, there are many Nigerians when you ask them, did they know about NIA, Nigeria Intelligence Agency? They will say no. And if you ask them, did they know FBI? They say yes. FBI is so this in America. When should the industry start making or telling these stories that will be more impactful and drive us to do better, business wise, security wise, and entrepreneur wise? Or we have time to wait again.
Okay. Okay, so a lot of people do what they believe in, or people are driven to do what they believe in. And I would expatiate. Some of this on how it's made. Um, a producer who sets out to make a film right now, he asks himself, what's the commercial viability of this film? So if someone gets an investment of 100 million, or 150 million to make a film, or 30 million or 20 million to make a film. One of the first thing that producer is thinking is, how do I make my money back? So if it's a story of, let's say, Dangote, truth is that how many Nigerians will wake up and go to the cinema to go see a film about Dangote? How many? Is it that nobody will go? Not really, not necessarily that somebody won't go or people won't go. People will go. But when Nigerians go to cinema, what do they go to watch? Or when people go to cinema, what takes them to cinema? When it's not um, the concept of the story itself is not commercial or is not commercially driven, it's a different thing. So intentionality in making such films need to be taken into cognizance. And then some of the films we talk about, that featured FBI, I come back to that again. The budget of those films are very high. No, I won't use the word high. They have very good budgets to make those films. If you come here again, do we have those kind of budgets? And the question you asked before, who will fund it? If you have the NIA or the security organization in Nigeria willing to fund such a film to bring, what they do to light, there are a lot of producers that will jump on board. I mean, they would love to make that film. But if that's not the case, if it's for an independent producer to look for money to make all such kind of film, trust me, he's going to be thinking, is he doing this film to show you how great the NIA is? If he wants to do that, then the NIA should be making the film, not them, or should be funding the film. A producer who wants to make such film won't be talking much about the NIA and how great they are. Will be looking at an angle of commerciality, commercial viability for the film. That's going to be his focus. And you would agree with me that in a lot of situations too abroad, you get a lot of support funding, government funding, or some kind of funding that powers some of those films. And again, talk of FBI, talk of the police, or talk about, if you talk about the military, if you talk about the military in the US, what is the perception of the average American concerning their military? What's the perception concerning their country? What do they think about their flag? These are the things that inspire the making of those films. When Nigerians don't feel comfortable with what is happening currently in the country, they don't want to make those films. Why are they making the film? Are they making the film because they want to make it is commercial, it's going to make them money? Or they're making the film to put their country in a great light. Which country? The one they are struggling to believe in. The one they feel is suppressing their dreams and all of it. So I don't believe that Nigerians are not patriotic. I just believe that Nigerians have been so treated unfairly that they are now seemingly acting unpatriotic. They're not non-patriotic. Nigerians are very patriotic people. They may be acting unpatriotic as a product of the fact that they've been pushed to the wall that some of them just want to jump off the cliff. So that's why sometimes it's difficult for them to even think in the direction to want to make such films. I Made Even President, the movie, is about Nigerian politics. I know what I went through making the film. I know what I've gone through in the distribution of that film. I know the wars I've fought. I know the challenges it been. Sometimes you just feel you're on your own. Sometimes it's as though, not as though, you see, this path I'm walking on, my path is a lonely path. Not many walk this path. That's why not many producers want to go this path. Not many producers want to subject themselves to the kind of headache I'm facing, even in the current film I'm making. Sometimes it can be it's a lonely path because you're trying to, it's as though you're going, going against the tide. You're trying to create a new normal, a new, existence of something that may not have really been there that much or in that particular capacity. So it's not easy to make some of those films. And if you don't get Some organizations like the security organizations and the NIAs and every of government and all that supporting those narratives. For an independent producer who goes through hell, through years trying to get money for a film, and by the time he gets the money, we expect him to make a film that they may not want to make the film because even currently they are not feeling good about the country. So this is the reason you it's like as though it's hard to find us making some of this kind of films. And if we're going to start making this kind of films, such kind of support needs to come, even if you don't, the country is not where it needs to be yet. But if you're getting some kind of backing to make that product, it's easy to make it. It may not that it's that easy, but at least you're encouraged to want to make it, even if for a selfish reason. That's okay, they are paying me. Even if it's you can start from there. We can fake it and then make it. But when there's no funding, there's no support, rather when you even try to do, you're clamped down, and then they are not funding you. The little money you went to razzle somewhere to come and do, you're being clamped down, you're being suppressed, you're being suffocated. Bro, very difficult for a Nigerian producer to wake up and just want to make this film. This path is least traveled. But I believe gradually it will get better and we'll get more. I mean, even as we train more filmmakers who are passionate about making this kind of films, a lot of them will fall off the road. That's the truth, and you can't blame them for falling off because it's frustrating. But some persons will still, grow muscle and keep going. And I mean, would arrive where we have a better country. But trust me, for someone like me, if the things you mentioned, telling story about NIA, telling stories about great people in the country, how they broke. I mean, there are stories I am naturally passionate about telling, but passion will not fund the film. You still need funding. So that question you asked, I will still ask it. So who will fund it?
Funding.
Yeah,
Nevertheless, this your lonely path is of course complicated, and you are resilient and keep moving until you achieve your ultimatum goal. But
sure.
that brings me to a point I'll ask: what you want to be remembered in this your film for impact, advocacy, and gospel when you are not here?
When I'm not there, which I'm not afraid of, I'm only afraid of not creating the mark that I need to create. And that's why every day I want to be intentional. I'm now so choosy about what I make, what I put my name to, because I just want to be remembered as that filmmaker who used film to bring about a better society. I am not the person who will do it, but I can make my own contribution. So if I'm going to be remembered, I want to be remembered as that filmmaker who used film to make the society a better place. That's all. If there's any award, anything, it's not about I love the Oscars. I love the enemies. I love the awards are nice. But I think that award for use not even the award itself, a plaque, no. But to be known as somebody who blazed the trail in using film to make the society better. I think that's it for me. That's it. There's no greater honor, and that's why also in my new project, Chains, I realized that I've been making films for a while, a couple of years now, but my bond, my love for my maker, my love for God, I've not done so much with that with respect to the power of film he's giving me. So I'm not just going to be making the film change. I'll be making a lot of this, to also use film to win souls for Christ. You know, so it's what I want to be remembered for. How I used film to make my world a better place.
So tell us about. Yeah, I know we are about to wrap up, and we have wanted to talk so in depthly about the movie The Chance and Chance. I
Mm.
mean, but time is not with us. But nevertheless,
Okay.
tell us about the movie in making and what the audience and your
Okay.
fans should be expecting from. I mean, that bright person, they are always seeing bright things coming out of his
Okay,
work.
Chains is one movie I'm very passionate about because uh Chains is it's my life. It's a life I've lived. I've grown up to know and I've lived the life of the pursuit of God. Dedication to God. The service to God and the honor. One as a creator or as a creature of God, one created by Him. So I'm very passionate about this film because it's everything I exist for. So it tells the story. It's a faith-based film. It tells the story of uh, a gospel artist who is battling between his ministry as a gospel artist and the realities of the music industry, right? And trust me, this is one battle that most gospel artists battle. So, does it mean the film is meant for just the gospel? No, it's not. It's a story about these gospel artists, but it's a story that resonates with everybody because the story is not just about the gospel artist. The heart of this story is about God's love. That's what Change the movie represents. The unconditionality of God's love. How God's love, is so unconditional that it will leave the 99 that are well to do and look for that one person that is lost from Him. And He won't stop until He gets you and make sure you're well, you're fine. That God that is not condemning you, that is not holding a sledgehammer to hit you, but seeks to find you, bring you back home. That's what changed the movie. It's about, and it has also informed the casting, for me, because a lot of people got to me, oh, right, it was amazing. I love the casting. I love some people say, I love these people. It's like they've not acted before. A lot of it are in the faith, yeah, because it's a faith film. I don't believe that faith films are regular films, and this is 20 years of experience. I've been in the industry 2 decades, so I can tell you that it's but I mean it's open to people's opinion because people have different opinion. But you see, the faith does not see film as acting; it sees it as a ministry. And if you're going to minister, you've got to minister as a minister. So it's not just about acting. I can teach you how to be a good actor. I can't teach you how to speak in tongues. You know why? Because that's where deep calls onto deep. So for someone who doesn't understand what that means, it's difficult for you to assess that. So it has informed also the casting of the film, which, by the way, has been very, very tasky. The most tasky film I've ever made in my 20-year career is the movie Chains. We're still making the film, but it's the most difficult film I've ever made, even though we've not gone into location. Because to cast it, to crew it, I couldn't just pick, my regular talents that are good and all of that. I had to be intentional with every choice, everybody, every word. I've searched more than 5,000 people trying to cast for the film because it's very, very important, that I'm extremely intentional about this. So, um, it's a film that will resonate with everybody around the world, not just in Nigeria, because it's not a film about church or about just Christianity. It's a film about the love that God shares to everybody, all humanity. It's God's love that doesn't want you to be lost. That's what the film is about. So it's an everybody's film. And, in view of making this film, we're making a film that will not just stream, in cinema, on platforms. It's a film that will go global, and you'll find it in a couple of other languages. So that's why a lot of work has been going into it, and we're trusting God every step of the way. So yeah, watch out for Chains. Is that film you're waiting for?
So thank you for that. And before we wrap up the show, what are you are a veteran of the industry. You passed through all the value chains of the industry, and from what I know about you, I know you are all rounder. Anything in the industry from pre-production, production, post production, you are master of all. You know camera, post production, editing. If you, I mean anything, you are, and you know the business side of it. But nobody is ready to become media entrepreneur, film entrepreneur. you are there. You're a festival director and you're lots more. And you know all the cranny, the difficulties in the industry. What are your calls? First, to the industry stakeholders, be it actors, directors, and maybe union leaders. And second, to the government and policymakers, legislators, and all. And at large, to the investors, and maybe call to people in the finance industry what they should need to do with the industry. And at large, your prediction, what will happen to the industry in 5 to 10 years to come to Nollywood?
I'll start from the last one. In the next, I won't say 5 years, in the next 10 years, Nollywood, mark my word, Nollywood will take over film in the world. I bet you on that. The brains you have here, they are high powered. This is not me just praising my industry. I don't have the gift of brainwashing. But I can tell you that Nollywood in the next 10 years, Nollywood will top the charts in the global community. Not just because we have these streamers coming on, no. But you see, when the eagle finds its wing, it will soar. Nollywood is gradually finding its wing, and Nollywood will soar. So for every other person, in the industry, from the stakeholders, I mean, I would say to stakeholders, let's keep doing what we're doing and let's keep stretching the boundaries. And let's one major word I want to say to also those our stakeholders, the makers of this film, as much as especially as this money is coming in now and all of it, the streamers are coming in, they're beginning to support. I think we should be very intentional in the films we're making. And I mean, there are a lot of films that have been released of recent. We've seen some very good films, but we've still some that really needs so much work again. I think it's high time now that we're beginning to get some kind of funding we never had. Right now that these streamers are coming, it's high time we sit back and begin to become very, very intentional with the films we make. And you may not be making it's not just about making a social driven film, no. But like one of the conversations we had, you can make a highly commercial film, but it's also about an issue that will resonate with people in the country. But you make it can still be very highly commercial. So rather than just thinking, commerce, let's also think purpose so that the film, beyond just entertaining people in cinema for maybe 2, 3 months and it's off and it's forgotten, think of making that film that will never be forgotten. That beyond the entertainment the film has, it is so purposeful that in the next 40, 50, even 100 years, it will still be relevant. So let's look towards making those kind of films. And then for the government, I think we've said a lot to government concerning what Nollywood is or how far Nollywood has come. And trust me, there's not much to say again because these things are evident. Nollywood keep putting the country on the map. I think that's enough evidence to say this is an industry that government can never miss it. When they support, when they fund, when they power. So yes, we need more of those support, more of those funding. And for the investors, I can assure you that this is the time to invest in film in Nigeria. There's no better time to even be a filmmaker or be an investor in this country other than now because the opportunities are now here, especially with the streamers here. We can be sure that we get your 50 million, your 100 million, your 200. We can be sure that that money, will be recouped. Your investment will be recouped, and you'll be profitable. But being sure of it does not mean any producer who works to you, you can now for no. I think antecedents, and who these persons are, what they've done, and what they are about to do, and who is involved. And doing the whole due diligence thing is very necessary. So you don't put your hand and get burnt and say, we advise you to come in. No, but trust me, if it's about recouping your investment in this industry, this is the time. The opportunities are. You know what? The industry is ripe for your investments to recoup, to be recouped and you get profitable. And I mean, this is the best time to be in Nollywood, trust me. And I'm proud to be in this industry and I'm proud to make the kind of films that I'm making, I'm designed to make. And I'm proud for those of you who are also watching. and always be following and supporting the works that I do and the works we do as an industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Bright. It was really amazing conversation, and we appreciate having you. But before we go
Thank you.
again, do you have any message you have been trying to pass either to anybody? I mean, any message or anything that has been in your mind about the industry or your vision, your mission. How do you imagine the industry? How you want it to work? I mean, anything in your mind?
The truth is that I think to the bulk of what I needed to say, especially to the filmmakers, that filmmaking community, to the governments, to investors, I think the bulk of it, I've said it. And to summarize it again, is that this is the time to be in Nollywood, whether as an investor, as a filmmaker, or as a government. This is the time to be a part of Nollywood. Trust me, this is the time because the opportunities are there. And irrespective of what we see of our country, trust me, true film is not just about making social films, but through film, we can still even position our country financially on the global chart. And through film, we can also correct certain ills, in the country. So every one of us, while we make these things for ourselves, don't be self-centered, be patriotic also. You can be patriotic and be business-minded, and you will succeed in both of them. So that's my message to all. Thank you very much for having me, and I appreciate this time.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much, boss. We look forward to being part of the your new baby, Chance,
Thank you
and
very
we
much.
look forward to covering the BTS and lots more of this about the movie. And
Thank you.
we have no word to reappreciate you being part of the show. And thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.
Mhm. On behalf of all our production crew, I remain your host, Musa Sunusi Ahmad saying thank you for being with us. I sign out.
Yeah, bye.
Mhm.